Welcome to New at NAMT, the next wave of musical theater writers, a series dedicated to spotlighting the emerging voices in musical theater. Every interview provides a unique glimpse into the creative minds behind the next big musicals. So whether you're a producer, theater lover, or even simply curious about the future of musical theater, New at NAMT offers a front row seat to a new generation of writers. It's time to lower the lights, raise the curtain, and LX1, go on New at NAMT. I am your host, Jean-Paul Yovanov from Musical Theater Radio, and joining me each week is a rotating cast of NAMT Festival consultants as our co-hosts. As part of the NAMT Festival, each musical is matched with consultants who are artistic leaders from the NAMT member organizations, who have also championed the show through the festival selection process or want to champion the show moving forward. The consultants work with their writing teams through all creative stages of the presentation and advocate for the artists and the show at the festival. Today we are chatting with Kevin Wong about the highly imaginative, colorful, and magical world of Soft Magical Tofu Boys. Before we get into today's interviews, let's welcome this week's co-hosts, Lily Tung Crystal and Joe Barros. Lily, Joe, welcome to New at NAMT.
Hi, well, thank you for having us.
Thanks so much, Jean-Paul.
Now, before we talk to our interview, let's get to know you guys a little bit better. So, Lily, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much, Jean-Paul. Hi, everybody. I'm Lily Tung Crystal. I'm the artistic director of East West Players, which is the largest, longest running Asian American theater in the country. And I'm also an actor and a singer and got my career in theater started through musical theater. And I'm the consultant on this project. So happy to be part of it. I have my only background with NAMT before this is that I was at the NAMT festival last year as an audience member, but this is my first time being involved in the festival itself. I also realized I forgot to say my pronouns. They're she, her, and I'm also a director. So that's my other connection with musical theater.
And Joe, yourself.
Yeah, hey everybody, I'm Joe Barros, and my pronouns are he, they, and I've been the artistic director of New York Theater Barn for 18 years. We're an inclusive home for artists and a holistic incubator of original, culture-shifting musicals, amplifying stories of collectively underrepresented communities. New York Theater Barn is grateful for the incredible support we've received from NAMP, and I've enjoyed being on panels for the Frank Young Fund for New Musicals. I also proudly served on the NAMP Festival Committee for numerous seasons, and have been a consultant on past shows, including The Dogs of Pripyat, Funked Up Fairy Tales, and Bleeding Love.
Fantastic. Great to have you both here today. Now that we've met our co-hosts, let's get to the interview. Three brothers have a magical ability to conjure images and sounds into the air. Soft Magical Tofu Boys is a colorful journey through a queer Asian fantasia brimming with pop divas, anime princesses, disapproving ancestral spirits, and more. Kevin, welcome to New at NAMT.
Hi, Jean-Paul. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Great. Before we talk about Soft Magical Tofu Boys, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to the listeners.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin Wong. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a composer and lyricist of predominantly musical theater based out of Toronto, Canada. I'm also a dramaturg and singer-songwriter and an ex-lawyer, although now it's been about 12 years since I practiced, and I don't remember anything about what I practiced. I also stream 3 times a week on twitch.tv, singing music and covers, and Soft Magical Tofu Boys is about my 8th musical.
Well, Kevin, I love so much the title Soft Magical Tofu Boys. It conjures up, questions of what a soft magical tofu boy is. And I know when I was first brought onto this project, I was curious what it meant. And now I know, now that I've been involved with the musical. But I would love to start by asking you to define what a soft tofu boy is for the listeners.
Yeah. So I'm the Chinese kid of 2 parents who both immigrated to Canada at both roughly about 13. They met of all places in wintry Manitoba in dental school. And Soft Tofu Boy actually comes from my grandmother who came to Canada with my mom I'm the eldest of three, much like there are three kids in the piece, although in my family it's boy, girl, boy. And at some point when it was just really me around, I think I was 4 or 5, and I tended to run around drawing in the air and singing a lot to myself, my grandmother remarked to my mother, "Your son is soft like tofu. I'm worried that he's going to fall apart the minute he steps out of the house." So that sort of nested in my deep memories for a really long time. And when I got the idea for this piece, it was the first thing that came to mind.
I love it. I love the image of that, and leave it to one's Chinese grandmother to create that name for a grandchild. And also I love the intro that Jean-Paul gave about the disapproving ancestral spirits, because that's one of the pieces of the musical that really touched my heart, because I think all of us who come from that diaspora have disapproving ancestral spirits from grandmother on upward. So what inspired you to write the musical?
Yeah. So for the longest time when I entered into musical theater, I think I come from many genres. I've been influenced by everything from, Alan Menken to Stephen Sondheim to the music of the 90s, 2000s. One of my favorite things has always been to step into different genres and to show that I can match the tone of a piece. But in doing so, over the course of like the previous 7 full-length musicals that I've written, some of which have gone on to be licensed and some of which have gone into a drawer and stayed there, I think I never came quite to the core of my own upbringing, the music that I love the most. And part of that is because I'm not always the book writer for a piece. I am often adapting the music and lyrics that I'm writing to suit the tone that the book writer has set for the piece and should really match that. This particular piece is a response to a question I've always gotten from many people, including artistic directors, to be like, why aren't you writing a piece that really speaks to something personal about where you come from, about your experience? And for the longest time, I both felt like maybe I had nothing original to say about either the Chinese Canadian or the Chinese North American experience or the queer Chinese North American experience. And then finally, when I was co-facilitating a group of all BIPOC writers on Zoom in 2021, bringing in a whole bunch of people together to write musical theater together, I started really thinking about how to theatricalize something that I've come to understand about healing and breaking the chains of generational trauma and embracing something specific and unique about who you are that isn't just the function you can serve in the lives of others. And out of that came this idea of 3 brothers in this house with magical powers.
Oh, wow. That really cuts to the heart, I have to say, serving the needs of others, especially in one's family. On that note, you've called Soft Magical Tofu Boys your quote unquote house I grew up in musical. And is that connected to what you just said about how it came about? Or is there more to you calling it a house I grew up in musical?
Yeah, I think it is exactly that, which is that everybody says that there's a musical that they've written that kind of represents everything they understand about how they grew up, who their parents were, or like culturally what the house was like that they grew up in, either metaphorically or just like, the community, neighborhood, the vibe. And it's exactly that. I really didn't know that I had anything unique to say, and then I started writing this piece and realized I had a lot to say about the house I grew up in. I also thought I had written it already. The bit of trivia, this is my 4th time being semifinaled for NAMT, but my first time getting in. And all of the other 3 times I was semifinaled for other pieces, including a song cycle that I thought was my house I grew up in musical. It featured someone who quit law and came out, later in life and all these things. And I realized now that I was only scratching the surface that time.
Glad that you are now part of the festival. Much deserved.
Yeah, and you know what I love about this show too is I feel like I've never seen a show like the festival, and I've actually never seen a show like it at all. It feels so fresh and unique, and I feel like there's this piece of your lived experience that is so clearly there that you've just shared with us. And I think, and what also really drew me in was the score. I think the score is just really, really special, especially a song called Invincible, which I'm really excited for everybody to hear. Kevin, you've said that your love for the 90s and the early aughts inspired the style and sound of the show. Can you tell us more about those musical and cultural influences?
Yeah. So, the other fun thing about having written scores for 7 other shows is that I have used all of my first impulse ideas. I think Jason Robert Brown once said that, Parade, because it was like the second full-length thing that he really wrote, it contains a lot of his first impulse ideas for like something. And I've used up all of mine on other shows already, which is great because it frees up the palette for you to really just think about how do I put a sound on stage that I haven't seen yet, right? Or that is so specific that like it could only really come from me. And with Soft Magical Tofu Boys, to go that deep emotionally into a story that speaks to my upbringing, even though it's fictionalized, even though it's not exactly what my life was, there's something emotionally that made me want to tap into the music that inspired me when I was a teenager. Because everybody has a period where suddenly everything culturally and musically that's happening speaks to something about exactly what they're going through at that moment. And often it's adolescence, or when you hit puberty or you emerge into teenagehood, suddenly your music playlist is completely different from what your parents were, and it connects you to your friends and your peers or who you want to be in the world. And I deeply remember rushing home at the end of every week to watch, like in Toronto or in Canada, it was called Much Music, but we also occasionally got access to BET and VH1 and MTV, and those countdowns were so important to me at that age because they spoke to something about, my experience right then and who I wanted to be and what I cared about. And I wanted to put that vibrant musical experience, particularly for the middle kid Calvin, who is so all about music right on stage. In order to do that, I really wanted to tap into the music that I listened to nonstop when I was between 13 and 17. As a result, that pays tribute to Disney Renaissance movies, Alan Menken stuff, The Little Mermaid, all the way through Janet Jackson, Mariah Carey, a lot of divas, a lot of pop production, a lot of R&B production, and also a little bit of other influences, anime theme songs, Taiwanese pop. There's the sort of full gamut of what my playlist has been through my life being funneled through this new material into a new score.
Awesome. Thanks for that. I love that the magic is sort of a metaphor or sort of reminds us that we actually are all magical, and that anything we focus on that means something to us actually can come to life. So with that said, can you talk to us more about the colorful magical world you've created here and how the magical abilities of the three brothers function within the musical?
So there's the idea, particularly the youngest child, he draws in the air a lot. And I used to do that as a kid all the time. A lot of the time, I'm a little bit of a visual person, and I used to draw something in the air so that I could sort of visualize what I was seeing. I'd also practice handwriting a lot. And I remember my mother was understandably a little like perplexed by what on earth I was doing a lot of the time, especially because I had no social context. So I would just do it in front of my peers at kindergarten into grade school. And she's like, "What are you doing? That's so strange and it's so odd looking." And I thought, oh, what if the people around me, though, could see exactly what I was doing? Like if I could trace an image in the air and everyone could actually see what my mind was ideating in that particular moment. And I really wanted to give an audience, through the magic of theater, that exact experience of like, well, Didi is talking to someone who you can't see and he's drawing something you can't see. But what if you could? And what if you could really enter the vibrant imagination of this child and the musical imagination of this teenager and the emotional turmoil of this adult and really feel and see everything that they're feeling and seeing. And theater really provides the opportunity through music and an actor just popping up on stage to inhabit those things.
I'd love to hear a little bit about the developmental history of the show.
So one of the most important things that's happened in my career is that I've been supported by the musical stage company based out of Toronto, Canada. I've worked there as staff, I've been dramaturgically mentored, and I'm one of their current writers in residence. And this piece was commissioned by them after I pitched 15 minutes of it. A little bit of Invincible existed and Secret Safer Space and one other song. And out of those 15 minutes, they commissioned me to write a first draft in 2023. They supported that draft in through to 2024. And then I got the opportunity to take the piece to the Eugene O'Neill Theatre Center to take part in the National Musical Theatre Conference in summer of 2024, where it got a really wonderful 2-week intensive workshop. And I really got to see the piece. Even though it was books on stands, we did a lot of physical work with the piece in order to see how it felt and breathed. And then I came back to Toronto for one more workshop with the stage company again in April of this past year, and on the basis of that draft, it was accepted into this festival. And so Musical Stage Company continues to remain super interested and involved on the piece as it is. And that's where we are now. It was also supported by Fujian Asian Canadian Theatre Company in Toronto, who funded the most recent workshop and have been really dramaturgically supportive.
Kevin, thanks so much for sharing where the musical has been. And now looking ahead to the NAMT Festival and beyond, what are your goals for Soft Magical Tofu Boys now? What do you hope is next for the show?
I hope that what's next for the show is probably one more workshop or more, but then I would really love for it to start getting to a place where it can be on its feet. I don't know that it needs all the bells and whistles, but for any musical theater piece, particularly one that sort of lives on choreography and visuals as well, there's something to be gained out of seeing it on its feet for the first time, because you start being, as a writer, able to explain a little less through the text and to trust in the stage directions and the movement to do some of the storytelling, and then to tweak for consistency and clarity out of that. And I think this piece is at the cusp of being ready for some kind of developmental production. I love a cross-border partnership as well. So I think I'm really looking for other companies that might be interested in supporting its development, allowing it to get on its feet so that it continue to keep the momentum that it's learning. I'm also never mad at a concept album, and I would love to do that as well for these songs.
Well, I really look forward to seeing it at NAMT and then on its feet. It's really exciting to be able to see what's on the page come to life.
Before we wrap up, where can people learn more about you and Soft Magical Tofu Boys ahead of the festival? You know, the website, socials, anything you'd like to share.
Yeah, you can find me on most socials at Kevin Y. Wong. Fun fact, there's even 2 Kevin Wongs in Toronto theater alone. But yes, at Kevin Y. Wong, all one word. You can find me on Twitch there, Instagram, Twitter, or X. And for Soft Magical Tofu Boys, you can go to softmagicaltofuboys.com, and that will forward you to a placeholder website that gives you all the info you need to know on where the show is at.
Great. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us today and introducing the listeners to your musical Soft Magical Tofu Boys.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see it in October. It's going to be so fun. It's always great to see another Canadian down there on stage. So congrats on that. And of course, a huge thank you to today's co-hosts, Lily and Joe, for joining us today as well. Thank you guys for joining.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Tune in next time for more incredible voices from this year's NAMT Festival of New Musicals. Once again, I am your host, Jean-Paul Jovanoff, and on behalf of NAMT and MTR, thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you in the theater.